Alrighty, well, hello Springfield Faith Center. I'm out in the middle of Foster Lake, a lake that is so much smaller than the Sea of Galilee, and that's where we're going to be taking a look at today. We're going to be looking at just what was it like for the disciples when they went across the lakes, and we're going to be talking about Jesus walking on water. I am probably not going to try the water walk today. I'm going to let Patrick do that. He's got his drone up in the air here somewhere. So we're going to give a try at that. So first of all, I would just like to just read the story to you, and then we'll kind of move on from there. This is in the Gospel of Matthew, and it says, "Immediately Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him on the other side, while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went on the mountainside to himself and prayed. When evening came, he was there alone, but the boat was already a considerable distance from shore." I want you to know that the lake is about a 40,000 acre lake, which is quite a few square miles. It's probably 12 to 15 times the size of Odell Lake. So it's a very large lake. It says, after he dismissed them, he went to the mountainside, and then he said, but when they were a considerable distance from the shore, the buffeting of the waves became, because of the wind, was against it. And so there's a considerable wind. I know back in 1992 in the Lake Sea of Galilee, there were 10-foot waves that happened in the Sea of Galilee. And I don't know if this was how big it was there, but let me tell you, it sounds like it was a pretty good size storm going on. It says on the fourth watch, that's about 3 to 6 in the morning. So this is fairly early in the morning. At night, Jesus went out to them walking on the lake. And when the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out with fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I, do not be afraid." "Lord, if it is you," Peter replied, "tell me to come out on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got down from the boat and walked on water and came toward Jesus. I mean, I don't know who of you would actually do that. I don't know if I would. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" And when he climbed back into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." And when they crossed over and landed in Gennesaret, when the men had of that place recognized Jesus, they sent word to the surrounding county, and people brought all their sick to him and begged him to let the sick just touch the edge of his cloak, and all who were touching him were healed. And so this is a pretty amazing story. This has a lot of moving parts to it in comparison to many of the stories that that we get to see about Jesus. The first thing I want us to notice is the fact that Jesus purposefully, I think he knew a storm was coming, sent them into a storm. It says, and once again, they were sent into this storm. I want you to know that at times, particularly times like this, God will send us into storms. I can remember my son Eric, when he was in middle school, he had a kid he didn't know very well, asked him to come over and stay overnight at his house. And when Eric told me this, I went, I don't think this is going to go well. But I felt from the Lord that, hey, this is going to be safe for Eric. And so we let him go, and early that morning he calls, and he says, "Will you come and get me?" And what had happened was, he said it was a pretty miserable experience. I mean, they didn't feed them, they didn't do anything else with them. And so he was kind of going, man, he really appreciated being home. Came home and immediately started chowing down on some food. And so what's interesting is the fact that me as a dad, caring so much for my son, knew that this was going to be a growing experience for him. Also, I connected with Jesus knowing the fact that he was going to get taken care of. So I want you to know, sooner or later, you're going to be sent into a storm. I think right now is sooner. I think it is happening to all of you. In fact, the Bible never promises us to have perfection or everything to go well. If you're married, Jesus promises that you will have trouble. And Paul writes that in the book of Corinth. He says, if you marry, you're going to have some trouble. And so what I want you to know is the fact that, yeah, we're going to have storms. And some of us, the storms that we're dealing with are more internal within us right now. And we're dealing with these things. But Jesus doesn't just leave us in the storm. And that's a promise that we get to have. The second point I see is the fact that the disciples don't immediately recognize Jesus in the storm. Man, you know, they said, hey, it's a ghost. I'll have you know that there's so many times that I've been in a storm and I don't see Jesus in it. It's interesting. We have a hard time seeing Jesus in the storm. There's a story of Stephen. Stephen was in the book of Acts, I think it's around Acts 7, where he was talking to the Pharisees. He gave a big dissertation, and then they went to stone him. And what's interesting here in Acts 7, or in Acts 7:55, it says, "But Jesus, full of the Holy Spirit, looked up to heaven and saw the glory of God and Jesus standing at the right hand." What I want you to know, in the midst of this storm that Stephen was dealing with, in fact, it was his life, he looked up. He immediately looked up to find Jesus. He wanted to know where he was, and we should be doing the same thing. I know I forget to look for Jesus in the storm. Man, so many times I do. I spend most of my time hunkering down and kind of going, man, I want this to be over. The reality of it is the fact that the storm is built for us. He wants us to hunker up. And so a new position that we take, rather than covering our heads, we need to be lifting our hands up to him to be able to say, hey, Jesus, I really need you in this part of time. And I recognize you in the midst of this. The third point that I see, and it's fairly simple, is the fact that Jesus doesn't calm the storm right away. I want the storm to be over immediately. That's my deal. I want it to be gone. And what happens is the fact that that God doesn't take it away that quickly. When Becky, my wife, had a brain tumor and had that pretty much enveloped a full quarter of her brain, at the front end of that, all we got were bad news for the first year. She had radiation, the tumor grew. She had 4 different types of chemo, the tumor grew. And so we went through this year of time thinking, God, where are you? When are you gonna calm this storm? And in the midst of it, he gave Becky and I peace to help us through that storm. I want immediate response from God to fix the situation. God is more concerned about my response to the storm and to him than stopping it. And we need to grab a hold of that. That's a huge one that we need to grab a hold of. Fourth point, Jesus waits for our participation in the storm. If you notice, Jesus is walking along, and in the Greek, the word it uses, he was going to walk right by them. He was just going to leave them in the dirt. And what happens there is the fact of Peter goes out, they cried out, and it says, Lord, if it's you, Peter replied, tell me to come to you on the water. Jesus says, come. Then Peter got down out of the boat and walked on the water toward Jesus. As Christians in the storm, we should be looking for ways to lean on Jesus. We should be looking for ways to lean on other people. We should be looking for ways to be able to lean into the storm, into adversity that we're experiencing. We need Jesus to help us adjust our perspective. I know my perspective needs to be adjusted on a daily basis. I know I need that. I can remember one time in the fact of we were out on a lake in Canada. It was called Connie Lake. And it's known for having very quick squalls come up. And you would get probably about a 2 to 3 foot chop on it. And we were out there, and I was in my uncle's boat, and all of a sudden the wind came up, and this chop just came right at me. Came directly at me. And my uncle and I, the only way that we could get out of that was to quarter into the storm, was to lean into the storm. Not allowing our fear to control us, but the fact of that we would go into that wave. And we kind of courted the waves, and we were able, I remember, just bouncing up and down. And I imagine that's what Jesus was telling the disciples. Lean in. Lean in, Peter. And so the disciples were so spooked and fearful. So there's I got a really cool thing from Noah Millard, and it's a quote from C.S. Lewis regarding the atomic bomb. And it's this. This is the first point to be made. The first action to be taken is to pull ourselves together. If we're going to be destroyed by an atomic bomb, let that bomb, when it comes, find us doing sensible human things. Praying, working, teaching, reading, listening to music, bathing the children, playing tennis, chatting with our friends over a pint of a game of darts. not huddled together, frightened like sheep, thinking about bombs. They may break our bodies, a microbe can do that, but they need not dominate our minds. This was written by C.S. Lewis. So I love C.S. Lewis, and the fact of that he's reminding us that we don't get to submit to fear. We get to lean into that fear during this period of time. In fact, Peter leaned into the fear of Jesus and cried out to him. And at least he tried, I'll say that. I know in the book, you got to get out of the water, you got to get out of the boat in order to walk on the water. By John Ortberg, he talks about people being boat potatoes. And the other disciples were boat potatoes. They just sat in the boat. At least Peter got out of the boat. My encouragement to you, beloved, is the fact that we get out of the boat. We don't let fear take over us. Ask God what you need to be up to. Ask God what He is up to. Fifth point. Jesus wants us to keep our eyes on Him. Hugely important that we keep our eyes on Him. I know people, if I'm driving and I get a call, I'm tempted to grab a hold of my cell phone. I've done that a couple of times and I end up drifting here and there off, the side. And I don't do that anymore. But unless we keep our mind and our spirit on what's going on, we're gonna get pulled off the road. We're gonna get sidetracked. When I was a taxidermist, what happened more often than any other time was the fact that I'd get they'd bring in a deer head and the horn would be shot off of it. And we'd look at it. And so what happens is that the hunter would get fixated on the horns and he couldn't pull down to be able to shoot the deer, and he shot the horn off. And so for some of us, that's what we're doing. We're doing these things, and it's just really, we're not focusing on what Jesus is up to and doing. Once again, like the wind that's blowing right now, you see a little bit of a chop out here on the lake. You don't see the wind, but you see the effects of the wind. You see how it's making the waves buffet back and forth. Pretty amazing. In the fact that we don't see the wind, but we see the effects of it. We don't get to see the virus that's going on within us that's going on right now, but we get to see the effects of it. And so what we have to do is focus in on the things that are not seen but are unseen, and the fact of Jesus is totally in charge. It's hard, and I want you to know, it's really hard to find Jesus in the nightly news. It's hard to find Jesus in the tweets you're getting from your friends, unless they're focused in on God. And so we need to be a people that are tweeting, that are emailing, that are whatever motive that you're using, calling and encouraging people to connect with Jesus as we get to go through the storm. Last point, and this is my favorite part. The storm will only leave when you let Jesus in your boat. I want you to know that Jesus doesn't change the situation. He never changes the situation. I take that back. Sometimes He will change the situation, but He is really more concerned about changing your heart, changing who you are, and the ability to be able to hang on to that. I know when I spoke on expectations, I talked about the fact that anytime I went through a hard time, it was times that I grew the most, and the times that I look back actually fondly. I look back fondly in some ways at the time that Becky went through her cancer and her brain tumor. Thank God I've had her for another 20 years, and they said she wouldn't last. They said she wouldn't last over a couple of years, was the original prognosis. And so what we get to see is the fact that God came through. We get to have Jesus change our perspective on what's going on. I want you to know that there's a story in the Bible about David and Goliath. And everybody had a perspective that Goliath could not be beat. But David, he comes along and they say, well, David, how are you going to do this? What he actually said was, I remember when the bear came and I took down the bear. I remember when I took down the lion. I am the man. In the fact of that God grabbed a hold of me and helped me through this. And so he said, I'm going to depend upon the Lord and be able to take on Goliath. And you know the end of the story, he did. Jesus will walk with you. Now I want you to know, everyone around, once again, David, they didn't think this was going to happen. They didn't think this was going to be a good thing. Jesus will walk with you. Now I want you to know, as we close this out, that even if your boat is messy, even if your life is one big mess, it might be broken, it might be full of anger, it might be full of fear, it might be full of, you name whatever it is, Jesus wants in your boat. He wants in your boat so He can help change you from the inside out. He also will come along and help you with perspectives to help you change the situation you're in. So Jesus wants in your boat. So if there's any takeaway from this, lean into the storm. Lean into Jesus. And if you get a chance, try walking on water. See how that works for you. I think so. How do I gotta